We're back with Sarah. I want to go into book cover art because, as everyone knows, romance genre, book cover art is something to behold.
Covers are, I think, important. I mean, it's like curb appeal.
Well, it grabs you.
It makes a difference whether I pick that
So
book
are
up.
there some talking points about book cover art that you have analyzed on your site?
Only a few.
Only a few?
Only a few. Well, the first thing you have to know about romance novels, whether it's an older one or a newer one, is that you never judge a book by the cover. Because here's an interesting little history note about romances. When they were first stocked, they were put in grocery stores and bookstores, sometimes in smaller, convenience stores where women shop, because this is a billion-dollar genre created by women for women readers. So the buyers of those particular venues were men. And they thought, oh, the clinch, the man, the woman, the grabbing, the hair, the improbable setting, the swan coming out from behind somebody. That says romance, so that's what they bought. So that's what publishers made more of. And then long hair became sexy and evocative.
Yeah.
So now all of these women have this impossibly long and perfectly combed hair in a windstorm. Their hair looks great. The grass is exhaling and they look wonderful. That's what sold, so it became more of the same. So what is now the stereotypical image of a romance novel was in part influenced by the desires of male buyers, not women buyers. We just know, oh, that's a romance novel, and we go for it. There are some women who love the clinch cover. There are some women who are not too fond of it. I think that they are sort of a great source of comedy and physics. If you wanted to study how physics doesn't work, romance novels are a good place to start, especially in terms of like thermodynamics and meteorology. That's definitely a subject that could be covered. But at the same time, they are, a visual signifier of the genre, so you kind of have to talk about them. So here's an example of an excellently odd romance cover. I'm not really sure what's going on here. She doesn't actually look that interested. That's kind of a shame. Now this is an older sort of old school style romance. You can't really get a sense of where they
like
are.
A pirate or something.
Yeah, there's three key elements to the male hero on a romance novel cover that everyone's got to have. First is a mullet. It needs to be a really good mullet. You can't really tell. He's got some mullet action in the back, but not a whole lot across the top. It's an average mullet. Second, the shirt must be unbuttoned but still tucked in, because this is how a romance novel hero gets undressed.
Okay.
He unbuttons his shirt but leaves it tucked in, preferably with one of those really wide belts that movers wear to keep their kidneys from popping out their backs. That's really key. I don't see a belt. He does sort of have some sort of scarf vest action here. This is probably a C on the hero trifecta of awesome. She is, of course, falling out of her gown. That's just what happens. They just fall out.
Heaving bosom.
Heaving bosom. And she, like I said, she's not really that interested. She's leaning up against something incredibly suggestive, and I'm not sure what he's doing. Maybe he's looking for his keys and he dropped them down her dress.
I have never put that much thought into the cover.
The more you look,
Believe
the
me,
better they get.
this is your job.
This is my job.
I'm changed forever.
So here's another one. I think she's trying to kill him.
She's choking him right
She's
here.
choking him. She's going to rip his jugular out and run. Now this is
That's
what
not
we
where
call.
my eye goes, actually.
Yes. Well, we have. Well, there's another specific thing that you're looking at right about here.
Yeah.
That would be the male pectoral muscle. That is a massive, I mean massive, element to a good romance novel cover. You want them to be big enough that you can hide under them in the rainstorm. They're very useful romance novel heroes. They're always tall and broad, and if the mullet isn't covering you in the back, you can just sort of hide under him in the front.
Yes.
That's John DeSalvo, one of the most popular romance cover models. He and Fabio are like the one and two.
So there are people that just do that.
Yes, this is his career, and
Okay.
he has made an enormous career for himself. Emphasis on enormous.
With his pectorals.
With his pectorals, and he's actually a very, very skilled model. One thing I learned when I was writing our book was that a lot goes into creating a romance cover. He is a model who is called on regularly because he's just very good at it, and he's not, he's not upset if you say, I just want a shot of an arm or a leg. He's like, hey, no problem. How do you want me to do that? He's very good, and no one who I spoke to had a bad word to say about him. He's a tremendously nice, gracious guy, and he's in really good shape. Like really
looks
good,
that way.
like bench press your tractor, good shape. If you need to. I don't see a lot of heroes bench pressing tractors, but he could. Now you can't really see the mullet. Most often, Mr. DeSalvo is pictured with a really, really big mullet, like really big, really epic. And I've met him in person, and I asked him, "Have you ever had a mullet?" He said, no, I've never, ever had a mullet, but I'm always painted with one. What happens is they'll take a picture of the models, and then the artist will take the picture and put it on his easel, and usually this is painted. This is a painting that the artist will do.
Sure.
They'll add the makeup and the color and the hair and the covers,
whatever
art,
style
and
they want.
the strange landscaping. Like
Yeah.
this one, you're not really sure if they're halfway up the side of a building, if they're flying over the ocean. There's a building there. There's some sort of urn. Maybe they're on a balcony. You can't really tell.
Yeah.
The background setting can be very odd. I've seen one where there's like the Parthenon and a volcano. So we made fun of that in our book. There's some strange settings.
We
that
should
go
talk
on.
Yes,
about that.
absolutely.
So tell us-
Let's
Bosoms.
look at that cover.
Look at that cover. The more you stare at this, the funnier it gets. This is sort of a parody. There's a lot of sort of interesting imagery in the cover. The more you stare at it, this is Beyond Heaving Bosoms, our guide to romance novels, and it is a humorous, sort of tongue-in-cheek guide to the romance genre. All the things we love about it, and all the things that we think are hilariously weird. There's a chapter on covers. There's a chapter on the hero, on the heroine, plot devices and cliches that we just love. Secret babies, amnesia. No one in a romance novel ever gets amnesia and then actually has the actual side effects of amnesia, like, loss of motor control or drooling. They just conveniently forget that the hero is a jerk, and so they fall in love with him, and then they get their memory back, and they're like, damn, now we're married. Now what do I do? Plot devices that are fun are what was one of my favorite chapters. There's also games and puzzles, and
I did see a Mad Libs
there's
section,
a Mad Lib
create
section,
your own
create
kind
your
of
own
vampire.
entity. Yeah, there's a historical, a contemporary, and a paranormal erotic choose your own adventure style section in the back. There's a drinking game. If you go to the bookstore to buy a Harlequin, there's a whole drinking game for the Harlequin
Sounds like
line.
a good summer read on the beach.
It's very silly, and my understanding is that those who've bought the book do not ever have liquids nearby because they will inevitably take a drink, read
The
something,
spit
and
take.
spew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a problem.
Oh,
My
gosh.
favorite compliment about the book is that women have bought it and started laughing, and then their husbands have stolen it to find out what was so funny, and then read it as well. So I have all these men emailing me, I've never read one of those books, but your book is hysterical. That's a great compliment.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a very
that's
good
true.
compliment.
Yeah.
And it's not too bad a compliment having Nora Roberts
No, no.
review your book
No.
and say, hey, it was awesome.
No, I fell off my chair when I got a quote from her from the book. We have a couple authors who gave us quotes, and we have a lot of authors that we interviewed. And what was interesting about this is that it spanned all the different publishing houses and all the different subgenres. So we have authors who publish with one house and write one kind of book, and other authors who haven't written romance for a while, and they were all very happy that we were taking a serious look at the genre. So there's a lot of different people helping us with this book, which makes it very cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, okay, going into vacation time and the summer months and things like that, give us a few recommends as like your top 3. Can you narrow it down to 3?
Oh, God. Okay. All right. First and foremost, Nora Roberts, my never fail vacation read,
Yes,
ever.
I
I'm a
agree.
big fan of hers. She has a new book out that just came out in April called Vision in White. And it's the first of a 4 set about 4 women who run a wedding company, who they produce weddings at their estate. And that takes place in Connecticut. I'm reading the first one now. It's hilarious.
Okay.
In July, she has a standalone single title contemporary set in the Black Hills in the Dakotas. And that's between a wildlife conservationist and rescuer and a guy who once lived in that small town and moved away and now has come back. That one looks to be really good. So if you like contemporary, that's good. If you like sort of silly contemporary that's a little bit more sexy, a little spicy, Victoria Dahl writes for Harlequin, and she has 2 books, Talk Me Down and Start Me Up. There's a 3rd one coming out. They take place
Directions.
yes, and they take place in a small town, I believe it is Colorado, and they are hilarious and silly and a little sexy and spicy and interesting. And if you like books that are really set in an adventurous setting, in some place that's really interesting, there's a woman named Jill Shalvis, and she has a series that takes place in the Sierra Mountains of California. And that one is, the first one is called Instant Attraction. It was so good I Googled skiing lessons when I was done, because I was like, I want to do this too, this is great. In terms of paranormal, which is anything with ghosts, vampires, werewolves, that's all very popular right now. Paranormal romance is huge. Kresley Cole's Immortals After Dark series is incredible. It's like,
Really?
it's adventure. It is adventure, and it's a world that operates alongside
Along
ours.
with romance?
Oh
together?
yes. Oh yes. Most popular right now is
Werewolves
pet.
are romantic too.
Well, yeah, I guess.
All that hair.
Yeah, all the blood.
Definite mullet on a werewolf.
No question. Many werewolf mullets out there. It's a bit of an issue in their community. They're trying to deal with. It's very
So on
sad.
your website, do you give recommendations?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
Books that we like, books that we didn't like.
And a little bit of the gist of.
Oh yeah,
what
we'll
they're
do very
about.
long reviews. We're very long-winded. It's the nice thing about the internet.
You
We
can
don't
be
have
as
to shut up.
long-winded as you want.
That in itself will help. Yeah.
You know,
I do. I go to the shop. I don't know what to get.
television, we can't be long-winded. Right now, we're going to take a break here on Metro Woman. And we're back on Metro Woman here with Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I want to know some of the really cool, phenomenal people because of this that you've gotten to meet.
Well, I'm still very much a fan of the genre and the people who write it. So when I get to meet an author, my inner 10-year-old is jumping up and down like, "Whoa, this is great!" By far, the coolest people who I've met on the site are the people who come and read the site and talk to me. I had no idea there were that many smart, intelligent, savvy women around the world in just about every English-speaking country who read romance novels. Meeting these people who read books with me is amazing. In terms of the authors, I've gotten to meet people who I read their books for years. Lisa Kleypas, and I've met Nora Roberts, who is just a class act from start to finish. She's amazing and so prolific, and even her newest books are as good as her older ones. She just keeps getting better.
I agree.
Now, tell our viewers, how can everybody find you?
Okay. On the internet, there's only one website, and it's mine. I'm just kidding. There's a lot of websites out there, especially if you want to look at pictures of cats. No, lots of those. Trashybooks.com is the best place to find us.
Okay.
And then from there, there's contact information and things like that,
Absolutely.
but they can just jump right in.
Oh yeah.
Loving the romance.
Oh yes. And there's
Okay.
lots of other sites that will talk about romance. There's dearauthor.com, which is run by a woman who lives in Iowa. There's All About Romance. There's likesbooks.com. There's tons of different websites talking about romance.
There's a lot of love to
Lot
be
of
had
love.
for romance. We
Gosh.
thank you so much for
Thank
being with
you.
us today.
Oh, I've learned so much. I didn't realize why I read some of these books. You've enlightened me as to why I do it. So,
Well,
thank
look more enlightened than
I am
earlier today.
totally
We should go
enlightened.
book shopping now.
Yeah,
Just go to the Stags. There's a really good collection
just
here.
Look at the covers much better too.
If you have a show idea for us on Metro Woman, please visit our website, www.metrowoman.tv, and let us know what you'd like to see. Thanks for watching.